are we actually getting in the way of AI?
I guess the misconception that, it's going to take away from all marketeers and kind of completely move away. There's still going to be the marketeer in the middle running those things. This becomes like the exoskeleton of Ironman. Put on that exoskeleton and you can do so much more. You can fly, you can do anything. The marketeer puts on the new MA suit and he should be able to do this at scale, faster, with quicker feedback loops to it, as sales would do from that first contact all the way through. So it's not random acts of marketing anymore. It has to be a joined up engagement strategy.
Within all that, you still fit in the time to be a Great Britain Ironman athlete. Sure, your background is pretty unique in this space. You're a senior marketing leader, worked across some of the world's biggest asset management firms. Just from memory, Jupiter, Columbia Threadneedle, most recently, but previous to that,
Bank of Montreal as well, and Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch as well. But within all that, you still fit in the time to be a Great Britain Ironman athlete. So I'm keen to speak to you and understand how those kind of worlds influence each other, and how you fit in all that around everything else that you do.
Well, I guess from a personal side, the kind of sports side almost came first. So I started off actually back in skiing, working in ski instructing, coaching around the world, and developing athletes and individuals, obviously with a passion for myself. And it was actually through that I met someone who worked at a marketing agency who thought you might be quite good at working in an agency, looking after clients and presenting, etc. So that then started me on a kind of a dual path of maintaining my passion and skiing, while also starting to get into marketing and working in the city and financial services marketing. But during that time, I did find that I didn't really have as much holiday as I wanted to get to the Alps. I did try for a long while and kind of continued teaching on holidays with my children and stuff for quite a while.
Yeah.
But then took up another sport, which extended from running. That was Ironman, triathlon from that side. And so, got more and more into that and turned from completing to competing.
Right, yeah.
And then that kind of took over my life from there on.
Incredible.
And work.
That's a very high level of sport, obviously. But the parallels between the kind of performance that you need to gain and also working within teams, are there parallels that you've learned that you can take from sport into asset management?
I think that's my beat. That's my sweet spot. The coaching side, the performance of an athlete, and from the digital marketing transformation. I think the key thing is one, goal setting, being really, really clear as an objective what you want to do. And everyone says it, but can you really smell it, feel it? It's something you can really aspire to, and that's an important thing. Starting to get that aspiration of where you want to go, because then that's got a performance element to it. You want to kind of drive towards it, but not too far. Again, when you then look at it, so that breaking down, how are you going to achieve it? You've got to have a really good, and I think we'll touch on it hopefully later on, but a good 360 holistic view of what you need to do. Triathlon, swim, bike, run. It's so much more than that. But how do we break down each of those elements to get towards that goal? How are we going to, in business, we will have KPIs or metrics, but how do we really look at them and focus on them and go, are we achieving it? Or is it just a random act of marketing that we've done where we've increased click-through rates or something? We think that's enough. So really good KPIs that know you are on track, but also as well is the feedback loops from physical coaches, right, from yourself, and from data points. We use and we say we do all that in business, but what's really hard with the teams is sometimes that feedback has to be critical feedback. Sometimes it has to be quite harsh. Sometimes it has to be very clear. Sometimes it's, you can look at the data and think, oh my God, we're not doing as well as we thought, etc. But all those things are really important to help you grow and go forward. And so all of those aspects for me kind of really start to feed into that transformation within organizations, because it is at the center of it. The teams and the people of the organization have got to change. We're not going to suddenly move to a world where there's no people in it. And so I think for me, it's a really exciting melting pot of everything.
Yeah. And you talk about performance improvement, and a key area where people are looking at improving performance, both personally but within companies as well, as the world of AI. I actually saw something that you posted on LinkedIn the other week, which was asking the question, are we actually getting in the way of AI? And I read that piece. It's a very interesting, and anyone listening, I'd encourage them to go to Stewart's LinkedIn and look at that. But what led you to explore that idea and kind of probe around that question?
Yeah, I think, David, we had a number of things working with teams, and I guess it's picking up on these weak signals, as it were, as I kind of call them. You get individuals when we're going through, because there's such change. The new technology, we know we'll be going for a long while with new technology and how much it's changing organizations, but obviously so much more with AI coming through. And what we get is the weak signals from team members struggling with things, or leadership blaming it on the individuals, or we need a new tool. And it just seemed too simplistic for me. A parallel, to give you an example within skiing and stuff, is that sometimes people would kind of blame it on the tool, the skis that they're using, but it's not the skis. It's, and we'll go into maybe later on. It's the how the individual is moving, their experience, their tactics, so many more things than just the equipment. So I started to look at it and thought, okay, well, what are we doing as leaders to actually help these individuals and help the organization move? And what I started to see, and this is where, again, there's a lot of puns, these parallels to skiing, but was when I was training ski instructors or advanced skiers, they were some of the hardest to actually change because they got a lot at stake.
Yeah.
They're already experts in something. And so it challenged a lot of things. Some of the racers that we'd teach, they'd been racing since a child. They weren't used to falling over. Not, within a race, but when they're doing lower level things. And so what you had to go back to is, do they trust you to be vulnerable and actually fail at something that they think they should be able to do quite naturally? Can we actually coach them and progress them through these things? And what I started to do is, I guess, two big themes. One was that experts, while they may say they're up for change, they're not always.
No.
And it's very easy to blame other things. And then secondly, as leaders, and especially with so many mergers and acquisitions going on at the moment, there's a lot of kind of change kind of going on and stuff, but we need to support these teams and individuals, but provide trust, build trust with them, that they actually know that they can fall over, that they have tasks or things where they can actually learn again. And that's an important part of it, that they actually do feel, and everyone says this safe fail environment, but I think you have to be more specific to actually ensure people know there's a field of play where they can play.
Yeah. And it reminds me of I think I was listening to the cricket recently, and debacle that's gone out on over in Australia at the moment with the Ashes. But in one of those breaks where England were doing terribly again, there was a conversation about a batsman who was starting to do really well. But he had kind of reached the peak and gone through, and he just couldn't work out what was going on. So he went back to the England batsman coach, and he spent the whole off-season rebuilding his batting technique. And it made me, I think within the talk, they were pulling parallels between golfers that have gone completely rebuilt their swing. Andy Murray had to go, with his injuries, he had to totally re-go and learn his new technique again. It's a similar type of thing that you're talking about. But what we're seeing now with the challenges that marketing leaders are under, especially when we've got AI, which is coming in, and if you start doom scrolling on LinkedIn, you can believe that the whole marketing ecosystem is going to stop tomorrow because AI is going to take over. But that's clearly not the case. But in your world, and from where you're seeing it, and you're obviously, you straddle digital and sales. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions around AI adoption for these teams, and how do they go about embracing it while still, as you say, supporting the team that's under them?
I think you brought some really good points there, and so linking on some of those. One is, I guess, the misconception that it's going to take away from all marketeers and kind of completely move away. And the second bit you said that I think is really interesting is that that these experts, they did go back and spend time relearning.
Yeah.
I think we get sold a lot of the time because of the system we're in. Of course, the vendors want to sell us products that everyone goes, oh, this is great. It's going to be really quick and it's going to change the world. Yeah, but it's going to take a lot of effort to actually yield the gains from that. So I think just focusing on, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there because it's so new and stuff, but focus on those two about hard work and then also kind of removing the marketeer from it. I think what you've got is that, say, if we looked at, say, a marketing automation tool, a tool designed to kind of target individuals at scale and personalize the communication to them, what I'd link it to is that there's still going to be the marketeer in the middle running those things. This becomes like the exoskeleton of Iron Man, one of my favorite Marvel characters, but you put on that exoskeleton and you can do so much more. You can fly, you can do all things. The marketeer puts on the new MA suit and he should be able to do this at scale, faster, with quicker feedback loops to it. But what that means, their movement patterns are going to have to be faster. So if I, for example, okay, who's my target audience? How am I going to pick the segments I'm going to target? Okay, I found them. Now I want to create the marketing material, the content. I've got to get it signed off. And they go through it, and they may well have 2 campaigns a year. They may well have a campaign a quarter, monthly. Wow, we're going fast. This is going to be much faster. And so what they've got to do is they've got to actually be really good at it. So an expert where they thought twice a year doing a campaign, they're an expert in marketing email campaigns. You've got to move faster. Your movement patterns have got to be quicker. And that's going to take hard work, and that's going to take focused trial sessions. So again, I think one of the issues, we get these tools, someone buys it from IT or some senior leader agrees this is the new tool. The team take it. Maybe they have a go at it, play with it, just see what you think. No, let's get them doing specific tasks. I want you to find a target audience, create a message, send it within a sandbox. How quick does it take you to do it? It feels like one of those military things. You did it in 20 minutes. Good. I want you to see it do in 10 minutes. I want you to do it in 5 minutes. And it's working them through until it becomes second nature. And I know I love my analogies, but when we're skiing and stuff, we get some expert skiers and they want to ski bumps. So moguls, you call them, or bumps on them. And so they're great skiers, but they struggle with this. It's because the terrain changes. It's a lot more dynamic,
Yeah, it hits you that much quicker.
It does. And it's just changing and various, that could be hard, soft. There's lots kind of going on. Your balance, your posture's going to change. And so when you hit these, you can do exercises before you build people up. You maybe hit a couple of them, but you work towards this. You break the task down until they can do it. And then over time, it becomes second nature. They're changing on the fly. There's dynamic changes occurring because they've had the experience of feeling those things rather than thinking it through. And we've got to do that with our marketeers. We've got to get them so it's becoming second nature to find the target audience, get those feedback loops, change the campaigns and re-go out. But it takes hard work. Yeah. And it's not easy.
No, the environment that the teams and asset management are working in, especially in the active space, is becoming more and more pressurized. And because of that, I think people are looking to AI and automation as the answer. But how do you manage that? How do you get to that point of it actually becoming the answer and helping them with it with efficiency?
Well, I think there's a couple of bits with that. I think one is that we are under pressure in that industry. Everyone's clear margins are being squeezed, and we have to become more profitable. You have many firms kind of coming together. There's a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and the client base is changing as well. So there is a lot of pressure, and as it gets harder on sales or on IT systems that got to change, marketing is also getting squeezed in that area to be more efficient and become more engaged with it. And as more and more of our clients are engaging online and in various other touch points over and above just sales, marketing has to be a key part and an important part of tracking that engagement, as sales would do from that first contact all the way through. So it's not random acts of marketing anymore. It has to be a joined up engagement strategy that is linked with sales and progressing in that direction. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to link it to actually create a return on these tools and actually adopt them. I think businesses need to get better at quicker diagnostics of what's going on. So what we have is a story loop that tends to be someone says, oh, you know, we're not doing well enough at this market automation. We need a new tool. The one we've got is rubbish. And so we're going to get something else. But if we looked at it and we spent a bit of time in quickly looking through, and it's a full holistic view, there's something when we're training instructors who used to use called TEEPEE. So it's TEEPEE. And it would be a quick diagnostic of a skier that you could do quickly as you go up a chairlift and you see him to ski in the first lesson. But I've adapted that for business because you need to be able to use it continuously and keep readdressing this. And maybe we'll come back to this in a second. But that holistic view, when you're looking at it, you go, okay, let's look at my team. What's going on? When I kind of look through, and we'll go through the acronym in a minute, is that actually the team don't have the experience of doing these campaigns at speed. It's not the current tool. The tool could do it faster. It's that the team aren't used to that movement pattern.
Yeah.
Or when we go through it, when we're looking at actually the kind of equipment, which is the second E of TEEPEE.
Well, let's talk about so T. What does the first T stand for?
Tactics.
Tactics. Okay. Let's just when I'm listening to it, I just need to know it straight away. So let's just run me through. So T for tactics. E, you said equipment. Second E is experience. P,
physical, which I look at skills within there, the skills of the individual.
E
is the environment.
And last E
is emotion.
Emotional. Okay. So how does that all come together? And this was a framework that you came up with originally within your skiing coaching, but you've adapted that for business and importantly for helping teams build up their skill sets within using this technology.
So if I can just back up to the skiing side, what you've got to do quickly, especially in your different lessons, say going through, is that you're going to meet an individual. You're going to get on a ski lift with them. You got one lift up, 10 minutes.
Have a little chat.
One run, chat. And that chat's really important.
Yeah.
It's a structured chat to actually get all the information you need to populate TEEPEE in your head.
Okay.
And I'll come back to it. And then you got that first run to sense check some of those.
Yeah.
Now what happens, and I'm going to provide an analogy to kind of help bring this to life. So for example, I had an instructor who was within my ski school that was trained. I was watching him and he had this lady who was skiing down and he was spending lots of time on trying to get her to lean forward, trying to get more forward because they were leaning back in their skis and that was causing them problem. Doing all these exercises, working on it. And as I looked to ski past, I noticed her ski boot was undone.
Right.
The equipment had been missed, the equipment check. Right. Something so simple, but without that boot done up, they can't get forward.
Nothing to lean on.
Nothing to lean on.
Yeah. In
the conversation on the way up, you're starting to chat with them around, when did they come to the ski resort? They've just arrived today. Okay, have you skied in any runs? Yeah, I've had 2 runs, Which run did you go on? This one here, so it's how did you get on it? Yeah, no problem.
Right, yeah.
So you're fact checking. You found out that actually they're a bit nervous because they broke their leg last year and that was skiing and they're a bit worried about it. So you've got to deal with some emotional side to it and stuff. So there's lots of bits within the conversation. But to link this to business is that when we're kind of going through and we go through some of these, is that say the equipment, when we're looking at it, we have a tool, say marketing automation, we keep using it linked to CRM, the ecosystem around it. But the data flowing between the system just isn't there.
Yeah.
There's a problem with that data flow between it. And so when an email is going out and the sales team, for example, are thinking, you're not hitting all my clients. We should be hitting all these clients. We're missing a lot of them. Well, the data wasn't right going in. There was a flag that was ticked that says, do not mail. We've got to sort this out. So you've got the E, the equipment, good equipment check from that side. On the experience side, we alluded to it. Okay, the team have done a newsletter every so often, or one person seems to do it.
Yeah.
and everyone else doesn't. So you got a key man risk with this one individual, the rest don't. So we can't scale up. Physical, from the skill side, when you're going through, the business thinks, great, we bought a tool that can do all these multifaceted things, but we only did one of these once. It was a bad test. We bin that. We were only doing this. So the skill side is really important. What skills do we have from that? But on the actual environment, you alluded to something early on, but that environment is who is influencing what? That piece to do with trust in your team. Have we created an environment where the team can gain the experience with doing different tests, different learning pieces? Is the environment supportive of what they're doing? Can they really test and learn? Do people want to actually get honest feedback? That email didn't do well.
Yeah.
Is it a place where we can do that? And then the emotion side at the end, what I've linked that to is a lot of discussion around whether people are open-minded or closed-minded, to do with a growth mindset, etc. And learning. It's a really important piece. So are they open, closed, or undisclosed, I like to call it? They're the worrying ones. They're the ones who kind of, because everyone says it a lot, we're open to change, we want to change, we want to change. Really, they don't.
No.
Inside, because it's uncomfortable and it means they have to. I'm up for the business change as long as I don't have to. So looking at that and kind of working out from the individual, a question I love to do with the teams is, what's the last thing you learned? I'm currently learning martial arts with my wife and my little one and stuff. And oh my God, I'm really finding out a lot of new things and how old I've got suddenly. But constantly learning new things in life is important. And again, are you committed to it? Have you found someone, I tried something and then gave it up?
Yeah.
It's been fascinating. I know the triathlon I love, but few people in work as adults learning to swim.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. So that's important. So that whole system, that TEEPEE, it has to be quick, because what you find, especially with firms joining together, we've got new tech systems coming in as firms kind of merge or are acquired by something else. Constant checks. It could be on a weekly basis checking in with teams. So you've got to be able to do it quite fast. Yes, you can go, and there's a lot more diagnostics and business value assessments that people do that take months.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the time you've got the answer, it's moved again. So it's this balance again in having a framework that is holistic enough, that gives you a big enough picture that you can develop something. It's that prioritization of something. No, let's not get a new tool in yet. We do need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's enhance that process for a bit so the team can do it well. And once they reach that KPI, then we'll look at the next piece of tech. So it's really setting out that.
Yeah, it makes complete sense when you explain it down like that and have the skiing analogy there. Coming back to the piece that about the getting in the way of AI, and are you getting in the way of progress essentially with, or are you getting in the way of AI helping you progress? What's your thinking there? What do you actually mean by that in simple terms?
What I mean by that is that one is that when you're working with, say, it could be one of your team or someone else who's an expert in certain areas or perceived expert. When I say perceived, sorry, that sounds very bad. What I mean is that, because it's changed so much, is that years in the business or years in doing something is no longer a determinant of expertise. I think it's more of a mindset thing. So what I mean by it is that, as an expert, a lot of these people who have been in it for a long while are quite fixed and can have that fixed view of how it's done. Yeah. And almost what you got to do is go, let's kind of unshake the Lego pieces. Yeah. And now let's re-put it back together in a different way. Yeah. And that's the key bit with it, is that what we tend to get is you're linking to the golfer or the cricket player, is that everything the coach...
Are you willing to rebuild your swing?
Correct.
Type thing. Yeah.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's someone else's fault. But these things link together what I said earlier. One is that we get in the way because of... It's very easy then, and you see it, is that people actually, bomb the solution going forward because they come up with the reasons why it doesn't work. Yeah. The tool doesn't work. It doesn't fit around how I work. It doesn't... There's lots of... I'm sorry to say, excuses. And I don't like using that too easily, because of, I do think sometimes that's that information you need as a coach to develop those. And I've said a lot with expert ski instructors, and you have to take that, and that becomes not a barrier, but something you've got to work through to actually break that down. But if they've got trust in you and they say, it just doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
it's just not working for me in this area. Well, let's go through, why is it? Which bit is it? Is it that you're so used to a process that you've done here for 10 years?
Yeah.
That it's the process, again, the tactics that we just need to rechange. You've got the skills, but you're just so on autopilot of the way you blend those skills. Let's try something different.
Yeah. It's just making me think actually of that the sector that we work within asset management can often be shooting itself in the foot in this respect, in that there is not all organizations, but lots of organizations, there is very much a tradition. There's a here's the way that we do things around here type approach. And sometimes the larger organizations suffer from this. There's also, we were talking about this earlier, about some of the issues around technology. There's a lot of legacy technology in place, which means that they have to do things in a certain way. And it's not always as easy to come in and adopt new technologies like AI. It's not always easy for teams to come in and start championing this.
Yeah, but I think, again, I'm going to go back. It's not. And the larger the organization, the more complex it gets, the bigger it gets. You're right. It's harder, but again, the reason I like TEEPEE is because of, you go back through it. People can get stuck in, it's the tradition. Okay. Let's look at that. Okay, I get it. But that tradition, let's go through TEEPEE again. And what you might find is that the environment's changed.
Yeah.
The influential individual who's now running that department has changed. They come from a background where AI was really adopted from that organization. So let's approach it again. I think the tradition is more of a case of, let's not revisit it again. And that mindset is the bit that needs to change. You know, when you go through it, all these little bits change. And as each bit changes, something else is then moved, and the prioritization may change. And that's why I like having a lightweight diagnostic that you can do at speed and continuous, and kind of what you can go deeper, or you can keep it at surface level, but you can keep reviewing it, because of nothing stays the same. And everyone says these buzzwords without really drilling into it and stuff. You know, to give you an example, is that a classic I find a lot is, you know, we've been through recently some mergers and of organizations.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that with the BMO Columbia Threadneedle.
Yeah, and I think what you get is, obviously you've got systems coming together and all these, etc. And one of the bits I found, I managed to keep all of my team members all the way through that. When we came across all of my team,
well, it's a hugely stressful period, isn't it?
It's a huge stressful period, and a lot of people do leave because of the uncertainty, or they get. But what I was looking at is a lot of meetings, a lot of transparency, a lot of conversations with the team, building that trust and high trust, as transparent as I can be or could be at the time with them, and allowing them that freedom to test and trial things and feed back to us. But what I was just going to say is that, again, that chairlift conversation I alluded to, where it's carefully worded. People talk about having empathy with teams and things, that it's important to, you know, and you'll sit down during those times and say, "Oh, how are you? You all right? How you feeling?" And it doesn't yield much. You may get a bit of a
surface level.
Surface level, yeah. But going through, thinking through that, you know, how are things going? How are you finding the system? How are you finding the process? Which bits are you know, how's this work? How's that relationship with that area kind of going?
More structured approach to it.
And trying to populate TEEPEE again.
Yeah.
When you're going through it, to try and get a better diagnostic of where this person is feeling from those sides. And I'm going to link the whole thing together. So what I start to do, if you imagine with two companies coming together, the good thing was we had a lot of similar tech. Okay, so that's great, because we've got some good systems, and we kind of, but they're used in very, very different ways. Yeah. Each tech is being configured in a completely different way. So then you've got another misconception. It's going to be easy because it's the same. Well, it's the same, but different.
Yeah.
So then you go through that. So then getting the teams to build those bridges is, okay, let's look at both of the processes. SWOT processes.
Mm.
Follow it. And let's have a look at where do we find friction within it and what's the positives of the other. But also as well is then run the process, because of what you find when you're going through is someone might say it doesn't work because it doesn't follow our process.
Mm.
This doesn't work from that perspective. When you scratch a little bit deeper underneath it, and I know we should, and firms should, I don't think always they follow it to the letter, the process.
Yeah.
And over time, it's come off that track just slightly, but that slight deviation has now knocked something else out
Creates
further
chaos down the line.
Yeah, and it could be somewhere else. A small piece of a lack of, rigor over a data point. And now this won't work down there. And so working through those things, getting to buddy up and kind of work through those, now we're bringing it all together. So I think linking to it, the successes have been during those time is building that trust with the team, where they do trust you to be vulnerable. Again, not just saying it, they genuinely are. And that they do trust in you to work through and allow them to figure these new things out, rather than think, if I get this wrong, then I'm going to be, out.
Yeah. Very, very nerve-wracking. How do you go about addressing the gap between when people are learning about a tool versus training with it? And what does that gap look like in the real world?
It's a really good question. And I think I'm going to, as I've done so far, is go back a little bit first as we run up towards it. Before, too often, the gap that we get with the new tech coming from where we were before is because, again, we didn't spend enough time making sure we got up to the level of everything that's required to move to that new piece of tech. We've picked a solution we think is going to just save the day.
Yeah.
So you need people who understand it, who can help spec the requirements, find out what the weaknesses and strengths are, and say, well, let's just get everyone up to this level first so they can help contribute to the requirements. Then the tool we get, the gap won't be as much. And I think that's too often the problem.
Yeah.
We bring something in where there becomes a gap because we haven't done the right approach to getting to the level we need to.
Do you think organizations, especially within marketing, focus enough on actual proper skills building within organizations?
No.
And
Just end that answer. I don't. And I say there will be some organizations and stuff that do. But it's almost what I was going to say is that there's a ferocious workload always, and there's so much to do, and everyone is really, really busy. We are under pressure. A lot of teams have been reduced down. But if we're genuinely committed to it, and what I have done with teams before is put in a meeting for that playtime.
Right. Yeah.
Now, playtime is not fun time where you're not working. Yeah. If we genuinely, people are saying, if it fails, say training, etc.
It's almost fail time.
Fail time. But playtime is an important part of it. If we go back to sport, if people aren't, trialing stuff and feeling it and failing themselves, people learn in different ways. Whether it's reading it, from that perspective, being told, or physically doing it. There's lots of science into that. But how do we want our people to learn and become experts if we don't let them feel it and play it? So playtime and that time is really important. And so I think a key thing going forward, no, we don't, because we don't build that in.
No.
And we're too busy. There's always other tasks.
You'll build that into your teams.
Yeah.
You'll give that into their calendars. They'll see it on there.
Yeah. We did. There's a lot of the business as a.
I think I've heard Apple or used to do that on Fridays. I don't know if they still do that, but I really like that idea of that you actually block that in, and it's essentially training time.
Yeah, playtime. It's an important time.
How do we then? Let's say we're leading a team. We're conscious that the world is changing. Reading about AI everywhere. I love the idea of playtime. How do we actually take that and give the team something constructive to do within that time in the world of AI?
Well, a good area, I think, and we have talked about marketing automation a few times in there, and apologies, because I think that's one of those areas where there are some leading piece of tech that have recently, leading providers of tech that have come out with their agents, as it were, which I think is for me is a great example of AI when you think about these agents or this exoskeleton for you. But within that, what we need to be able to do is, and we hear about these terms, new terms, prompt engineer, or how we kind of constructing the requirements that we want and making sure, that the pilot, the agent is working for us. You need to play in those environments, and hearing some of my peers and other leading digital marketeers that I know, when they've taken on some of these tools that they're sold, the business has been sold and it's great to have, is that when they go in, they start to kind of ask these questions of it. We're talking a slightly different language.
Right.
So it doesn't quite fit. I ask it in this way, but it doesn't understand.
Right.
And again, that goes back to, you've got to spend time playing and developing. Now, sometimes it may well be that the agent that you are using will develop quick enough that it will actually start to adopt and use and understand your language. But not all AI platforms are the same. Mm-mm. And again, that's a bit of a misconception to think that we just think everything is super fast, quick learning, etc. There's lots of different systems behind that. So with some of them, we've got to learn to maybe adopt our language slightly to how we ask the questions to get the information back that we want.
Yeah.
And I think that playtime is an important part. Again, bringing that. How many times have you seen? We were talking about our kids and stuff. When they were younger and stuff. When they'll go in and they may be from completely different countries, they don't speak the same language. But before you know it, they kind of come out through play to actually understand the same language of what they mean to do. And that's the same within our business. We've got to take on these tools. These tools, we need to spend time to make them fit around us. The winning businesses, and I think the winning individuals going forward, will be those that can adapt these tools to fit for us really well.
Yeah.
And that means tailoring them. That means when we kind of put it on, again, to use my Iron Man superhero analogy, where you see Robert Downey Jr. or Stark kind of putting on the boot and stuff at the start, he's making it fit to him. Doesn't put it on and then go, doesn't fit me, get rid of it. We've got to spend time in making sure these tools fit and work around us. What data are we putting into it? How are we kind of asking the questions that we want? What's the output that we get from it? And we've got to work hard to make these things work for us. And then that's going to come through play.
I think that's my key takeaway from our conversation about putting in playtime. It's almost my favorite lesson in school as well. So, let's just, I guess, summarize now for our listeners, a lot of them who are going to be leading teams. And I think you asked a very provocative question, which I'm just going to come back to again, of what was the last thing that they learnt? And, not just learning, but actually studying hard. Yeah. What advice would you give to those that want to become students of the game again, so to speak? What can they do to aid them in that journey?
I think a couple of bits. One is that we are going to have to develop individuals and our teams. So while we get some leaders in digital marketing that acquire their knowledge and important knowledge on the technical platforms in different manners, be that through events, be that through reading latest things, etc. That's great. But the game is also the peopleware piece.
Yeah.
So you've got to spend time being the student of the game, acquiring knowledge on how to develop individuals in that system as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's both. Unless you do both, I think you can struggle in going forward. So one is learning to be a coach in that student of the game from that side. And also within there, as you're kind of going through, is developing your own approach that you can quickly get a holistic view of what is going on from that side. And I said that the TEEPEE we alluded to is how I've adopted something that I knew quite well. There's lots of good models out there, but don't spend too much time. Again, I think this key thing is anything that's going to take weeks or months to deliver, it's going to move.
Yeah, and that's almost the simplicity of TEEPEE is why it's useful, and you've used it across sporting coaching and on yourself within teams, but also then applied that within a business environment.
100%.
Yeah, fantastic. So you may notice we're sitting in a lovely set here, and we often ask our guests if they'd like to leave a memento to add on to the studio walls. Would you care to do that?
I'd love to. And a good job you said to me before to kind of bring something along. So I had to have a big discussion with my son this morning before I left to make sure it was okay. But I thought it was only appropriate, and I love it, is to bring a little Ironman figurine for you, just to remind us that the winners are going to be the ones that can create these exoskeletons. They are available in other colours, not just red if you want to do it. But also as well is certainly with the teams that I like to create, you know, Iron Man was the only superhero that was human, that actually built the suit to make him a superhero. And with the Avengers, he leads a very successful team of superheroes. And that's what I hope all of us digital leaders aspire to do.
That is a perfect gift. Thank you so much. I will look at that up there and always think of Stewart and the exoskeleton talk that we've had. So thank you. Thanks so much, Stewart, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today to The Growth Engine. If you enjoyed this episode and like to hear more, please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from, and follow us on LinkedIn for regular updates or on hubagency.co.uk. Thank you, and see you next time.